Harry.
Can we start?
Yes.
See, this chapter is a very important chapter from the political point of view. Because in all collective life, whether it be a village or an institution or a province or a nation, there has to be a person or a few persons who will govern and take the decisions for the community. This is known as the state. So in political science, a state means the authority that has the right to take decisions for the community. Absolutely clear till here? Okay, now next is the state idea. They are slightly different. The state idea is that the state takes over the complete control of all the decisions for the individual. So today probably there are very few countries in the world which practice the state idea. Might be China and North Korea. But all the rest, there is a fair amount of freedom to take decisions, more or less. That will vary. So now the next point that you have to make is that when the state idea imposes itself on the people, it bases itself on two very fundamental principles. That it knows better than you what is good for the community and also what is good for you. Any question from here? That is the argument that they give. We know better than you what is good for you and good for the community, and also good in the international relations. Okay. So this is point number one. Point number two is that the state believes far more efficient than a private enterprise. I'll argue on both sides, and I'm giving you their argument. Their argument is that when it is under the state, it is far more efficient. For example, the Indian Railways, it is under the state. But catering in the Indian Railways has been given to private enterprise. But railways in India, probably the second biggest in the world, right? It is very difficult to give it to private individual. Because the psychology of the private individual is profit as much money as you can, while the psychology of the state thing is to serve as many people, not to make a loss, but to see that everybody gets a certain benefit. This is the theory. Practically what happens, we will see today. So first make the distinction between state and state idea. Today all countries in the world, all institutions in the world have got a state. But the state idea is visible in China, in North Korea, might be in Cuba, and probably a few other countries. The state idea, they take all the decisions. There is hardly any individual. So this is the second point. Now the next point that Aurobindo says is the composition of the state. What type of people are there on the state? He says usually they reach the top and get into the state by all kinds of dubious methods. And it is not the best people who get there. And that is the biggest tragedy of collective life today. So he says, nothing can be asserted of the modern politician in any part of the world. He does not represent the soul of a people or its aspirations. What he does usually represent is the average pettiness, selfishness, egoism, self-deception that is about him, and these he represents well enough, as well as a great deal of mental incompetence and moral conventionality, timidity, and pretense. So this is now you see, if these people are given so much power, you must have the best people, no? Unfortunately, you have very mediocre people who are not up to the mark. He continues in this line. Great issues come to him for decision, but he does not deal with them greatly. And then the next point is very important. The disease and falsehood of modern political life is patent in every country of the world. And the next part is very important. And only the hypnotized acquiescence of all, even of the intellectual classes, in the great organized sham, cloaks and prolongs the malady. In other words, the people who are accepting and selecting these things, right, they are hypnotized. And the biggest trouble is these are known as the liberals. In every country they are known as liberals or the intellectuals. And it is they who decide, and the rest, without any critical analysis, they just accept these things and let it go. So he says, yet it is by such minds that the good of all has to be decided, to such hands that it has to be entrusted, to such an agency calling itself the state, that the individual is being more and more called upon to give up the government of his activities. And we can see this very, very visibly right in Pondicherry. The Lieutenant Governor of Pondicherry is very keen to, is very insistent that everybody should wear a helmet when they are driving a two-wheeler. And her argument is that a few months back, the wife of the Chief Minister lost her life because she did not have a helmet and she was sitting behind. And even then she lost her life. So she is very insistent that everybody should wear a helmet if they are riding a two-wheeler. But Pondicherry is a peculiar territory because there is a lieutenant governor who has got power and a chief minister also who has got power. Elected chief minister. Big battle is going on between them. You see now, these elected people, we don't elect the best people. We elect that which comes in front of us. Because the good people don't stand for election. Just running and bustle and shouting and they find it very disgusting. So they stand back. But by standing back, they are doing a disservice to the nation. Because if they stood up and are prepared to go through a little bit of rough and tumble, it would be better for the country, better for the community, better for the state. We should have the right people there. Unfortunately, we don't have the right people. Now we're putting a different idea. Even if you get the right people, even if you get the high ideals, you see the system, the government, every big organization is run by a system. And the system is run by individuals. The selection of these individuals is extremely important. Because if these individuals do not agree with the leader, they can sit on the files. And that is exactly what today is happening for the Indian Prime Minister. There are many bureaucrats who have been taking advantage of the previous government and getting a lot of money in the process. Yes, not all that. The result is they don't move files. So what should take place in 2 days takes place in 3 months, 4 months, and everything is delayed. So you see now, even if you had ideal people at the top, the engine is driven by machinery. And this machinery can be a very, very big block, right? It is hampered by two things. By the folly and selfish weakness that comes up in the process, and also it is hampered by the machinery itself. Because once you create a system, you can't vary from the system. Any variation, they can go to court. Because you put down the law, and the law has to be strictly followed. And if you don't put down the law and give it to a subjective judgment, then it is very risky. In a small institution like the ashram, a certain amount of subjectivity is allowed and is even helpful. But in a big organization where you're dealing with thousands and millions of people, you have to have a system. And if the system is once created, and the slightest departure from the system, I can go to court. So Aurobindo is saying, and this is the very positive thing about Aurobindo, doubtless this is the best that can be done under the circumstances. And nature always uses it for the best. So although it is not an ideal situation, nature somehow manages. Now the next idea is very important. If everything is under the hands of the state, movement is slow. Because there is a system, it goes very, very slowly. Therefore, there should be a system which allows individuals to take their own initiative and do the thing that is necessary. I'll give you an example. The Indian Railways, running thousands and thousands of kilometers, is the biggest in the world. And naturally, it has to be run by a system. But the catering was also at one time under the system. And they would give you the same type of food every day. For example, a North Indian traveling in South India, whether he likes it or not, he has to eat idli and dosa. A South Indian traveling in Northern India has to eat chapati and other things. Now, what they have done, the government has done, is that catering is now left to the private thing. One station or two stations before you reach, you send an order. I would like to have chapati or this or that or that. And when you come there, immediately it will be served to you. Now, this is giving you diversity in unity. I mean, the same, I mean, there is, everybody gets food, that is the unity. And diversity is you get the food which is suitable to your taste. And you will find that the Punjabis who eat chapati and meat, when they come to the south, they find it extremely difficult, right? So, in simple words, what he's trying to say that what the state cannot do, individual initiative can do. And that is why, in the political terms today, there has to be a private sector and there has to be a public sector. In India, Ambani is a private sector. His aim is profit. But while making profit, he is helping hundreds and thousands of people to get jobs. And in that way, it is a very direct benefit. I won't call it an indirect benefit. And he, of course, is benefiting. And he will, no private individual would like to run at a loss. So he does everything possible to see that he makes a profit. This is number one. So, as Aurobindo says, that there has to be two movements. One is the public sector, one is the private sector. So now that Narendra Modi has started putting toilets in every village, I think within a year, every village will have a toilet. This he has left it to the private sector. Different sectors, they take up responsibility for 30 villages and they put it. And then they are answerable because they have taken up the responsibility. And he leaves it to the state government, doesn't leave it to the central government. So the important thing is that you should divide the labor between public and private. And remember this, and Rima will understand it very well, that in the public sector, in Bengal, the gentlemen come comfortably at 9:30, 10 with their dhoti, Punjabi, well greased. They just stick, they go out and have tea. Then when it is time, they go and have lunch. They do not more than 2 hours of work per day. In the private sector, you have to work minimum 10 to 12 hours per day. And you are accountable for everything. So the main thing that is necessary is that you must justify the work by giving the public sector a certain right, a role, and the private sector a certain role. And whenever the country has failed in giving the private sector a role, that country has slowly deteriorated. Take, for example, Russia. In 1917, after the Russian Revolution, everything became centralized. As a result, they developed their military technology. But in no other area did they progress. No industry, not enough food, oh Lord, Lord, this is a problem. Anyway, so now that Russia, after the Second World War, it has realized and it has changed, it has made a mixture of two things, the private and the public. And in the weapons industry, they have private because these private people, they go on making research after research after research and find the latest weapon and the latest technology, which is very, very modern. America, of course, is always private. It moves very strongly forward. The other idea of the in this chapter is that the state has been till very recently, very brutal, rapacious, cunning, oppressive, intolerant of reaction and free speech. Today things have changed. Gosh, what has happened?
We lost him. I can't hear you.
Oh, suddenly we have lost him, I think.
Yeah.
Minimized or no, he has actually left the group, I think.
His
He's not online.
his connection. Oh, we're recording. Let me pause it.
Yeah.
Is it Vikesh or Devashish? Anyway, he'll put his mic off, so it doesn't matter. So anyway, the main thing is, he says the state egoism is a terrible thing. It is brutal, rapacious, intolerant of free action. And today, as a result, this book was written in 1914. Now more than 100 years have passed. Things have changed rapidly, except in 2 or 3 countries, China, Cuba, even Russia has changed. So it's a question of time. And as Aurobindo told Nirodha in 1950, that if China does not make the change, it will break up into 3. And all the signs are there. In Xinjiang, in the northeast, they are catching every Muslim shaving his beard, etc., etc. They don't realize that a revolt is brewing. And when the revolt comes, thousands and millions, either they are to kill ruthlessly, which the Chinese are capable, or they'll have to surrender. But they will not be able to kill ruthlessly because America will intervene immediately. Big power will intervene. Even Russia will intervene. Because nowadays killing is totally unacceptable. And you can see from what happened in Kashmir, 40 soldiers lost their lives, CRPF. Whole world is with India. Now we'll head back and God knows what we'll do in the next 3 or 4 days. The army has been given a free hand. But anyway, the important thing is state is absolutely indispensable. But state control is extremely harmful to the nation. And from that point of view, I would like to say that our ashram is an excellent example, where you have a state, there have to be trustees are there, but there is also a lot of freedom, both in the school and in the ashram activities. Sometimes even people complain of too much freedom. That doesn't matter. It is better to err on this side than to have less freedom. And then the second thing is that spirituality can flower only in freedom. Nobody can compel you to meditate. Nobody can compel you to have devotion. It has to come from within. And coming from within means freedom. So that's why, as Sri Aurobindo, right from the beginning of his life, he said, freedom is the watchword of my life. And whatever I do because I'm free and I enjoy doing it. Right? Even when he went into solitude from 1926 till the very end, it was a delight for him. It was not a suffering. He doesn't do anything better. So the important thing is that the state must allow as much as possible. Now this word as much as possible is very relative. It can be partial because as much as possible will depend entirely. And mother gave a wonderful example to me when I was handling a class in the pre-system, and they were terribly naughty. Impossible, you couldn't do anything. So mother said, no, no, no. Give them only that much freedom as they need. So that I had to take a few months to be able to find out that beyond this is dangerous. The other class, you can give them complete freedom. They will always do what is right. They will never go wrong. And even if they want to go wrong, they'll come and tell you, and then so we have this problem. So the main idea in this chapter, inadequacy of the state idea, state should not take complete control of the life of the individual in the state. Therefore, in political terms, there has to be a public sector, there has to be a private sector. Public sector is only interested in the efficiency of the private sector is interested in the benefit it will get. But even as Ambani says, right, and as beautifully Narendra Modi has put, if Ambani doesn't produce wealth, if the cake is small, when you distribute the cake, you are not distributing wealth, you are distributing poverty. So first you must have a very big cake, and then we'll distribute that. Right? So first economically we must be flourishing, and when we are flourishing, then you can distribute. So both are necessary. In America it has been flourishing but not enough distribution. In India it is not flourishing and the will to distribute, because right from the days of Nehru we believed in socialism. But socialism without enough resources, money, production, industrialization. And very fortunately, in the last few years, India has now moved among the top. India is now the fifth largest economy in the world. It has overtaken France. I think this is the basic idea of this chapter. Next time you read it thoroughly. And in the meanwhile, if you have questions, you can ask on Google, or you can ask next time also. It is better that you ask on Google, then I will prepare, and then I read it out in class again, and everybody can benefit from that. Now, Donna, if you have any question. Your mic is off.
I was just going to bring up a point of what happened in our country recently. You were talking about how the state should not have complete control. Well, there's this book called 1984.
Yeah.
And in it is something called face crime. Face crime.
Yeah.
So there was this group of boys from a Catholic school that had gone to the Capitol, and they were waiting on their bus to pick them up. They had gone to support, it was to be against abortion. They weren't for abortion. You know, they're saying in our country that you can abort a baby after it's born. Well, how do you abort a baby after it's born? So the boys had gone to the Capitol to protest that. Well, they were standing there waiting on their bus to come, and this American Indian, came over with his drum and was beating on his drum and got up in the face of one of the boys. Well, the boy had a smile on his face. But he was non-confrontational. He was just standing there looking at this man this close to him beating a drum. Well, the media got a hold of that image and said the boy was guilty because of his face crime. He had a smile on his face. And everybody condemned the boy. And now it's come out that the Indian was at fault, the American Indian. And that's just the point that we're at with the collective, with the liberals in charge of the media and a big part of the government.
Unfortunately, the media also puts up a lot of fake news.
A lot.
The organization is trying to remove this fake news. It's very difficult.
Yeah. And there's a law that it's on the books that a lawyer and even people that are legislators in government can lie, and it's okay if they lie, but the public person can't do the same thing. So we're in a heck of a mess.
Well, I think the whole world is in that situation. India seems to be a little better. But we have to wait for the next election.
Wait for what?
In April.
Yeah.
I think stop here. In the meanwhile, you can send me questions. Rima and others also. Others is not visible. Shashi is not well. So anyway, she can send me questions.
Okay.
But Shashi talks to me regularly on Skype.
Good. Good. Well,
Okay,
thank you for coming today, Kittu Da.
No, why tagged me? This is a normal thing. Anyway, so we'll meet. Today is 17th, no? So
Yes.
24th, I think we'll meet on the 4th of March. 4th or 6th of March.
On the 3rd of March.
3rd of March is Sunday. 3rd of March. Oh, this is old. 2018.
First is on Friday.
2019. I think 3rd of March.
Sunday.
3rd of March, no?
Third is Sunday.
Okay, Kittu Da.
We are next 3rd of March.
We'll look forward to see you then.
Yes, we'll see. For us, has not come visible, but I think he's there behind, no?
I don't see him, Kittu Da. I don't know.
Because he follows very closely. Sometimes he asks questions.
Oh,
Who?
good.
Vignesh. You were talking about whom? Rishikesh Da or Vignesh?
Today Rishikesh has not come.
Yes, he is the regular one among us.
Rishikesh and Shashi Gold have not come. Anyway, Shashi is not well, so bad luck. Anyway, it is tape recorded, so she will get it.
Yeah. I'll send it out.
So good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Well,
I am closing it.
yes.